Hello and welcome back to another episode of our first tour on the abandoned property of the Recollets monks. We left off in the last episode at the doorway from the cloister to go down into the cave. We would have taken down a set of stone stairs into the cave. Now notice how curious it is that it is completely aligned, the cave and the cloister. However, it was blocked, and Jackie, our realtor, couldn't open the door. By the way, this is Jackie, our realtor, that I keep mentioning in all of these episodes. And that's Patrice, and that's Edwige, whom you're going to meet in another episode. We had to go around the house and go down to the lower courtyard and access it from the outside. Jackie was telling us a story about how the kitchen and the cave were rebuilt in the year 1762. This is very important in the story. An apse is the semicircular protrusion in a church. It's at the back of the church that envelops the altar. One could think of it as a canopy over the holiest part of the church. And it was typical that right under the apse, underground, there would be the crypt, where the prominent clergy would be entombed. The Recollets church was no different. It had an apse, and it stands to reason that where our current wine cave is, would have been their crypt. But tragedy struck when some of the monks were down in the crypt digging, maybe for more room for a cellar, we don't know, but suddenly the apse above them collapsed on top of them and they perished. Back to 1762, that's when they built this cave. I'm sure that they reinterred the clergy people who were already here, and also the monks, the poor monks who were killed during the collapse. We finally made it to the entrance to the cave. I loved it, with the brick landing and the rustic wood door and the little window. The ceiling was in concrete and was very low. It was part of a new stairway addition to provide access to the cave from the kitchen. The unfortunate thing was that it covered the beautiful cut stone door frame that the monks had constructed. We entered the cave. It was filled with all sorts of bottles, barrels, and hooks, but one could clearly see the beautiful cut stone arches and vaulted ceiling. Patrice spotted right away the big wood barrel for stomping grapes, and he went inside and pretended he was Lucy. I wish I took a video of that. Because it stayed consistently cool around 12 degrees Celsius, it was used to store and preserve all of their food, including the wine. One of the recent additions was a stone wall that dissected the space into two. There was another addition, a small room completely enclosed with stone walls and a very imposing prison-like door. We don't think that was a prison, but the Recollets Abbey, at the end of the Revolution, this was used as a prison, and not a small prison. It was for 200 prisoners of war. Lastly, we climbed up the stone stairs that led to the cloister and that blocked door. The width of the steps were truncated by brick half-walls. Then we saw the ancient third entry into the church. When they blocked it up, they left a recess so it formed a niche, which I really thought was cool.